Alrighty, guys, and welcome back to the NBL Show presented by Fox Sport, episode number 2. We are finally back. We had some technical difficulties, to say the least, at the start of the week. Internet is obviously a wonderful thing when it works, but not a wonderful thing when it doesn't work. But as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Jai Shadlow. Jai, mate, how are you?
Yeah, very good. It's what's now Wednesday. We're finally getting the episode done. As you mentioned previously, technical difficulties, which is very frustrating. But finally getting the episode recorded, going to get some fan questions answered and dig into some of the what's been transpiring the last couple of days, especially the Montrezl Harrell drama.
Yeah, there's been a lot of things going on. I know this has obviously been the biggest and best off season that we have seen in the NBL, I think, ever.
Mm.
But it does look like there are a couple of little landmines that are brewing in the NBL as well. But before we get into that, let's take a little bit of a look back into round number 1. And it was a really, really incredible round number 1. I think there were a couple of different things. I know some other people in the media, especially the NBL media, were speaking about it throughout the offseason that we may not see any blowout wins or losses. And we saw 2 of them in this particular round, with the Southeastern Phoenix taking down the Cairns Taipans in a massive way and Melbourne United taking down the Breakers in a big way as well. So, Jai, I'm going to kick it to you first, mate, because you were a massive fan of the Phoenix heading into this season and obviously a massive win in round number 1. What did you make of it?
Yeah, obviously it's against Cairns, who are a bit undermanned at the moment with some injuries, and with no Andrew Andrews yet. Very, very positive signs. I was really impressed, and I think this is, it's not anything original or new, but John Brown is clearly a legit player. Comes in with a lot of credentials in terms of he's led the league in several European leagues in Italy and Serbia and that, and then he's won several Defensive Player of the Year. So he came in with the resume. So I really shouldn't be shocked that he's doing this, like getting 6 steals, 14 points, and just being a disruptor on the defensive end. So they looked really good when he was on the floor. Thought they looked like an all-round versatile team. Like Josh King, there's a lot of opinions entering this where did he make the right decisions and stuff? And yes, he brought in Vrenz, but then he trimmed the fat and he realized, no, he's not what we needed, which sucks for Vrenz. Best of luck to him in Europe. And they look good. Like Glover led the points off the bench for the teams, a really well-rounded effort. I'm keen to see, I don't want to put too much into it because, again, it is Cairns, but they look good considering they have another import coming in. So a big test is tomorrow night against Melbourne United.
Yeah, I think you're bang on as well. It was interesting. I listened to an interview with Simon Mitchell as well. It was yesterday. It may have came out. And he was speaking about the Vrenz Blaenberg sort of decision to release him. And it sort of came out that the club sort of found it that was the best for the team to sort of have Vrenz coming off the bench. And Vrenz obviously wanted to start and had ample opportunities around the world as well, especially back in Europe. So that's why that mutual release was obviously and did happen, I guess you could say. So disappointing because he was going to be a good player, I think, in the right situation. But again, though, he'll have plenty of opportunities, like you said, overseas as well. But for me, it was all about the Brisbane Bullets. And I think they were very dominant in that performance. I know they only won by 9 points, 104-95 over the New Zealand Breakers, I should say there as well. But just the sort of spread from the team is what I most liked about the Bullets. Tyrell Harrison, I know we've been speaking all off season about him taking that next step. He was obviously the most improved player for NBL 25 as well. 24 points and 15 rebounds. Now, he's had an incredible offseason. I know we spoke about it on the first episode of the NBL Show, Jai, and speaking about, Puerto Rico, really solid. Obviously, the NBA Summer League. People thought he was going to make it to the NBA in obviously a 2-way deal or a 10-day contract in one of those capacities as well. But he comes back over here and absolutely annihilates the New Zealand Breakers bigs as well. So it was a massive performance, and him and his old buddy, Casey Prather, 27 points as well. I know I copped a little bit of crap about it at the start of the season, having him the 4th best player heading into NBL 26, and people had him outside the top 10. I saw him even outside the top 15 in certain things as well. Absolutely ludicrous for me. This guy is a genuine MVP candidate, and he's as fit as a fiddle as well, and will have a massive impact on how the Brisbane Bullets go this season. And then obviously Jalen Adams and Javon Freeman-Liberty, the 2 new imports for the Brisbane Bullets. Now, we know what Adams does produce, and this is a very standard game, I guess we could say, for Jalen Adams. 14 points, 7 assists, and 5 steals as well. And then Javon Freeman-Liberty really impressed me. 17 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and the 3 steals. So those 4 guys are really, really solid. And they are a massive reason as to why I sort of have them as a team that's going to finish quite high this season. They have got one of
Yeah.
the better starting fives in the NBL. And, you mix in guys like Alex Dukas and Sam McDaniel as well, who both had 10 points. And I want to spotlight Alex Dukas a little bit there as well, plus 21 coming off the bench for the Brisbane Bullets. So that is absolutely massive. Have you changed your mind slightly though, Jai, with the Brisbane Bullets potentially? I know the question, and it will stay the same with obviously Mitch Norton. It sounds like he is going in for scans today on that
Yeah.
knee, so we probably will find some information later on in the week. But I know the questions have been the depth, but have you slightly changed your mind a little bit on the Brisbane Bullets and what they can achieve in NBL 26?
Like slightly. Like I'm probably a bit more cynical than you. I just think to go to Tyrell, he looks really fit. Like you can
Yeah.
actually notice in his face that he's lost a lot of weight. And he looks like he's just raring to go. He's probably in the best shape of his life. So he's obviously primed for a big season. Again, similar to Sam, I want to see it against a team that's not, on the trajectory of finishing last. Like if there was relegation in the NBL, they would be going to NBL 1 at this stage. It's just, yeah, so I want to see it against a proper team, but they did look good. I'm excited to see what they can do in terms of my main issue is the ball handling. So there were times where
Yep.
Jalen and Javon were kind of passing it back to each other, and no one really wanted to take the role of being the playmaker and the distributor on the team. They got to figure that out, and obviously that was on the back of Mitch Norton injured as well. But they clearly have one of the best starting fives in the league, as you mentioned. Like the firepower is insane. The only concern is the bench. Like I probably would like to see Jack Purchase come on a little bit more, especially in a blowout, just so they can get some runs in, and like it's kind of free minutes in terms of use this time when you're up by 10 plus points to experiment a little and see what Purchase or something can do. I'm keen to see what happens when Jacob Holt comes back. I have no idea how long he's going to be out for. He's actually been since signing non-existent. I haven't seen anything
Yep.
about him, so I'm keen to see what he can produce. But yeah, as of right now, like you can only win games against whoever you go up against. So they're 1-0. So we'll see how. I would love to be proven wrong on this.
Quick one on that. You speak about, and I know we've spoken about this a few times as well, but you speak of the Jalen Adams and Javon Freeman Liberty, and I guess, the passing back and forth and not one of them wanting to take control, maybe just as of right now as well. If you're head coach Stu Lash, who are you putting that onus on? Is it Jalen or is it Javon Freeman Liberty for the season?
I think Jalen has to be the primary ball handler. He can do it. He's been top four ever since this is his fourth season in the league, I think.
Yep.
And every season he's played, he's been top four in assists. So he clearly can distribute the ball. A little bit in turnovers as well. I think he's like average 2.5 or something. But Javon's up there. He's better off ball. He's going to be a smaller wing style shooting guard player. Jalen needs to take that role and realize he doesn't need to pour in 20 points a game. Like he can do it. It's a good luxury to have if other players are off. And I think it should just be game dependent. If Javon Casey's having an off night, let Jalen just flick the switch and just be like, all right, this game, guys, I'm going to be the primary scorer.
Definitely, mate. I think it's going to be a very interesting watch for the Brisbane Bullets, and it's probably going to be one of those key things that they need to figure out relatively quickly for them to really start getting rolling, obviously in NBL 26 as well, with some incredibly hard games coming up for them. But arguably the biggest news we've seen this season so far, I think we've obviously seen some incredible signings, but this is, I guess it kind of is a surprise, but maybe isn't a surprise at the same time as well, with obviously a lot of things going on and pending in China as well. Now, Jai, I'm going to throw the floor to you because you put an incredible article out, and you can check this out at foxsport.com.au. Check out the NBL section in the basketball section as well. But Jai went and put an article and pieced together roughly a small little timeline of what it has happened with Montrezl Harrell and why we have gotten to this point. So, Jai, floor's over to you, and I'll be reacting after that as well, mate.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I think this is and obviously the news is changing constantly, but the thing is with the news, it's always from Trez. So we're not actually getting actual statements from the team or Basketball Integrity Australia and all that. So the information we're going off is from Trez, and obviously he can be a bit emotional in terms of he's venting. So we've got to take everything with a grain of salt. So basically, obviously in the off season he signed with Jinyang Flying Tigers in the CBA, which is a Chinese league. Um, and during a game in April, I think March, sorry, he had to do a drug test, and obviously there was THC in it, so cannabis. And then fast forward all the way to June, they released a statement. So Chinada, which is a Chinese anti-doping agency, they released a statement saying, yada yada, Trez and another player have been found, with cannabis in their system. And since then, there has been nothing in terms of like updates. So I'm not sure what's happened. I was able to go play in Puerto Rico. I've done intensive research in terms of what Puerto Rico's rules are following the main FIBA umbrella. But from my understanding, they don't have to entirely follow their rules. Um, and then you've got him playing in the Big Three in America, same situation. They don't have to follow the FIBA rules and stuff. It's in America. And then he's come to play in Adelaide. I've been signed. So I think what's happened is Basketball Australia and Sports Integrity Australia have said, look, there is a pending case here that has not been closed and it's got Montrezl Harrell's name on it. And they've contacted Adelaide and said, we need to sort this out. Otherwise, we are at risk of copping a massive fine. This league might get a fine. This is just my theory, by the way. And so Adelaide forced to be like, look, Trez, you cannot play until you actually sort this stuff out. We're going to have to let you go because he could be banned for up to 6 months. So who knows? This has only happened once before in China in 2013 with a player, and he got banned for 6 months. So that was 12 years ago. So the rules might be different, but as of right now, there's no official statement from anyone yet. So I think Adelaide are coming out today or tomorrow with one. But yeah, all our information is coming from Trez right now through his tweets, which is not the best. It's not the best thing.
Yeah, it's such an interesting situation though, because there's a couple of things that when I sort of think about this whole situation, it could have been avoided. I think that's as simple as it is.
Yeah.
If Trez was to go and do whatever the Chinese Basketball Association required him to do, whether that is sit in front of a tribunal and have a meeting with the agency and the association and essentially copy his ban and then be able to, fulfill that ban, it could have been done 3 or 4 months ago. Now, the funny thing of this all is this could also just be a 1 or 2 month suspension. And that's the worst part of it. He could have already have done his suspension and could have, he's still, I think the thing is, it could have been interesting is maybe he wasn't able to play in Puerto Rico. If he did get suspended, maybe he wasn't able to play in the Big Three. I highly doubt it, to be honest with you. But I don't know, just cop your suspension. And sometimes I just think obviously certain players think they're a little bit bigger than obviously some leagues and some rules as well. So again, it's Montrezl Harrell, one of the biggest names in world basketball, former NBA Sixth Man of the Year. It's disappointing nonetheless, but I think it all could have been avoided. And even he came to the NBL and Australia very, very late in the piece. I think he came like a week before the NBL Blitz, or maybe came just a couple of days before the NBL Blitz as well. So again, we could have had this situation all resolved well and truly into the preseason. Now the Adelaide 36ers have had their hands forced on them, it does seem like, from the Australian Sports Integrity Unit. And it's just a disappointing situation because when I look at what Montrezl Harrell is to the NBL, he has essentially become the poster boy. He's the face of NBL Supercoach, which, they didn't need another kick in the guts.
Situation in itself.
Yeah, they didn't need another kick in the guts heading into this season, and now they are trying to find another beat the coach, and I guess I don't know who they're going to go now. But he's also the face of the app. Every time someone speaks about the NBL and Montrezl Harrell, the clicks and the numbers are just absolutely incredible. He instantly brings you that American audience over because the Americans love him. He's 100% box office. So what it does to the league is it's going to hurt the league going forward. But for Montrezl Harrell, I am super disappointed. Again, I know a lot of people have been talking about, it's his own fault and it's his own thing. 100%. He'll own it and cop it. It's disappointing as well. But, let's just get this resolved. And you never know. Maybe we'll see him back in the NBL next season. We could even see him back in the NBL late this season as well. We don't know what it is. But as long as he goes and gets this issue resolved with the Chinese Basketball Association, then we can figure out what we can do next as well. But speaking of what we can do next, though, Jai, you mentioned a couple of names to me last night. I'm also going to throw a couple of names out here as well. Now, these guys, I'm more going for... you've got a bit more of an idea with the international players, but I'm more going for the play style and the player. Now, for the Adelaide 36ers, for me personally, I think they should be going after a Justin Simon, Antonius Cleveland type player who can play Three,
Yeah, I agree with
four, defend, can score relative, 10 to 12 points per game, but not have to be, a focal point on offense. I think that is the perfect player. Now, you mentioned a name to me last night, and that got me genuinely excited. Again, these are just us having water cooler talk, throwing out some names that we feel like, would be really, really good on this Adelaide 36ers team, because it doesn't seem like they're in a rush too much right now to go and sign another player. They've still got an incredible lineup for them heading into round number 2. So, Jai, what are some of the names that you reckon that you think would be really good for the Adelaide 36ers lineup?
Yeah, so like you mentioned Justin Simons, I think that's a really good shout. Like he's not signed anywhere at the moment, I don't think. So he last played
Yeah.
in Germany, and I think he'd be a really good player. Like again, he's a three. He's a three, probably a 3-2, which means Cheatham would be the starting power forward. Totally
Yep.
fine. But yeah, I think that's a really good shout. So another one of free agent, which is obviously a name everyone's familiar with, is Cam Oliver, Space Cam. So he hasn't signed anywhere yet, and obviously coming off a season, disrupting season with Sydney, still managed to average 12 and 7, which is like career lows for him. But like we know what happened last season. He barely played, came off the bench more than he started, played 21 minutes a game. But he's a solid player. Like he can defend, he can block. Obviously a big guy, can stretch the floor. Like not the best shooter, he's probably like 33, 34% shooter from deep, but like he's a luxury to have. He's a big dude. I'd just love to see him and Cheatham running down the court. I think that would be the most intimidating thing in the NBL. So like he's a free agent. Like I hope Adelaide is like sending some feelers out and be like, hey, what's up? Like you might be able to get him on a cheap considering it's so late into the like start of the season. He hasn't signed anywhere, so you might get a discount with him. But yeah, that's one I'm hoping they at least look at.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's been very clear. If you followed me on the basketball fix, I'm a massive camp. I actually picked him as an MVP player last season when he joined back with the Sydney Kings. I know
I remember that.
hindsight
Yeah.
is yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing. He obviously didn't get the opportunity, but I just love what he produces, and I think what you're speaking about there with the 3-point shooting, whilst the numbers aren't blow you out of the park sort of numbers, it is probably perfect for the Adelaide 36ers to have a stretch 4 player who can also play down low as well, to give Isaac Humphries that break as that 5-man as well. And I think that would also be
Yeah.
perfect. And in another world, though, let's just flip the script a little bit. So let's talk about Zyle and Cheatham as the 4. Dejan Vasiljevic could play smaller 3. You got Bryce Cotton as a 2. Is there a world where they go after some sort of point guard? And I know his name keeps popping up. I know he's been signed over in, is it Israel? But Derek Walton Jr. I know his name's been
Mhm.
brought up a few times, the player who the Adelaide 36ers are quite keen to bring over to the 36ers as well as that point guard to play alongside of Bryce Cotton. Do you think they're going to prioritize a point guard more now than maybe a power forward, small forward combination player?
No, I think they should be going for a defensive or a defensive 3 or a stretch 4. I think that's
Yep.
what they need. With the whole Trez situation, it's a blessing in disguise in terms of like they can now play this round and maybe next round, depending on how quick they want to replace Trez, and go and really see where the hole is and be like, right, we need to fill that with someone who's best catered. Like if they see there's an issue at the 4, like when Humphreys goes off at the 5 and then they switch, like okay, well there's clearly a need for like a rebounding big here because Humphreys is going to play more than 30 minutes a game. Like I do like the Derek Walton Jr. pick, but I think he's going to stay in Israel for Hapoel,
Yep.
just because he's playing alongside Todd Withers. The money's pretty good over there. Um, and but yeah, Vasiljevic at the shooting guard spot. But yeah, I think my main preference would be a defending more of a defensive small forward type, like a Justin Simon really, but someone who can also stretch the floor a little bit as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be an interesting sort of next patch for the Adelaide 36ers here. I think it is going to sort of make or break their championship, aspirations personally. And it's going to be interesting to watch how that goes as well. And one thing before we move on to the next segment, very interesting for me as well, that the reports are that Montrezl Harrell was going to be coming off the bench behind Isaac Humphries, and he was more than fine with it as well. So that's
That's what
also
I
an
heard. I thought he
interesting,
was, yeah, like people were
yeah.
saying like he's cracking it, saying like no, but like I spoke to people in Adelaide and they're like, yeah, they gave him the idea and he was totally fine with it. So
Yeah. which is just awesome. But like when you think about what's going on there, I know the Adelaide 36ers at the start of the offseason said that the keys to the city have been given to Dejan Vasiljevic and Isaac Humphries, and then Bryce Cotton got signed, Zion Cheatham got signed, obviously then Montrezl Harrell was re-signed, and everyone was kind of like, okay, what's going on here now? But it looks like Adelaide have well and truly stuck to their word, and really trying to build around big ice as well down low. So really exciting times, the Adelaide 36ers, albeit though disappointing for NBL fans, so that we won't see Montrezl Harrell on the court. Now, again, he hasn't officially parted from the team. It's still in the process right now, but that is 100% happening. He will not be suiting up for the Adelaide 36ers for some time. Now, Jai, let's get into our next little segment here. Rapid fire, 5 segments in 5 minutes. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you 3 questions. You're going to ask me 2 questions. We each have 1 minute to answer the question. Now, we're going to be doing this at least every fortnight, I'd say. This is your idea, Jai. I'm looking forward to hearing some of the quick fire responses that you do have. Now, let's kick it off straight away, mate. First question for you. Who has the most pressure on them heading into round number 2?
All right, so I'm going to do this one really quickly, all right, because I only need 30 seconds. The biggest one is biggest one is Petteri Coppin entering this round 2. So they got Perth next, went 0-2 in the first round. I think his job's genuinely on the line now. Judd Flavel is like behind his shoulder, whispering into him, going like, step up a couple more times and this job is mine. He looks super stressed. I just think there's something going on there, and he didn't have positive things to say about the team. They have to get a win, but also they're going up against Perth Wildcats. So that's my first question. So the one I'm going to you is, how many weeks will it take for Perth to get going this season?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I think I'm going to sit out 4 weeks for them to fully be accustomed with the lineup and the new players that they do have. So if it wasn't a point guard and a center, if it was more of like a shooting guard and a power forward, I probably would say less time. But when you have 2 guys who are somewhat ball dominant and are very, very crucial to how a team plays, your center is very important for how they rebound and obviously push the pace in transition, essentially with how they sort of get it going as well. And then obviously you've got your point guard in Mason Jones, who is more of a scoring point guard than he is a facilitating point guard, but does both very well. It's going to take some time as well. And I've heard some other good things. It's a very good point. I think that Felix brought up on overtime, sort of speaking about, a lot of the players around Bryce Cotton last season who are in the team right now have been so used to just standing there. And now they've got to get moving and sort of, work off the ball and play for the ball as well. So I think it's a month for the Perth Wildcats, and it's going to be a very interesting month as well, to say the least. Now, Jai, your second question. Are the Illawarra Hawks in strife coming into NBL 26?
Based on what I saw at the Intercontinental Cup, yes. I don't think they have a very good lineup at the moment. McGee looked a bit concerning, but they're going up against lesser teams in terms of the Intercontinental Cup with Flamengo and stuff like that. So it's hard to gauge on what he's actually going to produce in NBL. Didn't look super fit, looked a bit slow, looked massive though. So that's more of a 50-50 one. I'm not sure. Jaquiri McLaughlin, I'm so concerned with this. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. He played the most minutes during that tournament for the Hawks, took the most shots as well. So I'm not sure if that was a little speed test to see if he can actually, get some chemistry building with the team. Generally concerned, and now there's reports out that Will Hickey will be he's going to be out for up to a month with his eye injury. So that's even worse. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't see him winning their first few games, to be honest.
That Will Hickey one.
So my one.
That's a scary proposition, though. We'll speak
about
it is round
like
2.
without. So we'll see how they go. But your last question is: if PJC doesn't get healthy, are the Breakers no chance this season?
No chance. Yep, no chance at all. I can't see the New Zealand Breakers even being a top 6 team, top 8 team without Parker Jackson Cartwright at the helm. We saw how important he was last year. Their start of the season was so sort of overwhelming and probably as random as we've probably seen in the NBL for a number of years. They shouldn't have been anywhere close to the top of the ladder last season, but it was all because of one man, Parker Jackson Cartwright. Now, the hard thing right now is you put him on ice for a few weeks, up to a month or whatever he needs, and potentially rule yourself out of contention for his health because you have got him next season as well. Or do you just try to manage his game time? When he's feeling sore, you don't play him a game here and there as well. I don't know, but I just think that if they don't get him fully healthy, they are no chance this season heading into what is going to be arguably the most competitive and close NBL season we have ever seen. So very worrying signs. You've obviously spoken about Petteri Koponen. Now we've spoken about Parker Jackson-Cartwright. The New Zealand Breakers are heading into quite a sore, I think, NBL 26 to say the least. Now, the last one, Jai, to wrap up rapid fire 5 seconds in 5 minutes. Are the Tasmania Jack Jumpers a genuine chance heading into NBL 26?
Yeah, I really like them. Even though they push United, who are now the favourite at the moment, like flavour of the week, to right to the end. It just took Milton Doyle to hit that ridiculous shot against his former side. I think they're really good. It's like they're well balanced. The only issue is they're hanging by a thread on injuries. So
Yep.
I don't advocate for any injuries, obviously, but I really get concerned if Bannon and Magnay. I feel like one of them this season is going based on history. Like, we go look at the data. Is one of them will get injured sometime a season, even just maybe load manage. So we'll see what happens. But they look really good. Bryce Hamilton, obviously, 25 points a game, first 2 games, stud. David Johnson, great player. Josh Bannon, I did a post the other day. He's shooting so bad, and they're still looking good. So I'm just waiting for him to once he clicks, they're going to be quite dangerous. So the next 2 games, I think they have this week. They got Illawarra Hawks. I think they're going to win that, despite them not being favourites. So we'll see what Magnay does to JaVale. And then they got Brisbane after that in round 3. So they could really start the season by other round 3 being 3-1. So which is a really good start to the season. I'm really high on them.
Yeah, I think they're a massive chance. And it was actually interesting to see the first Bryce sort of hold the Red Army and the Perth Wildcats captive as well in that first game as well. 26 points. He looks like a genuine superstar. And one name you didn't mention there as well, I know this is not my rapid fire, but Tiger Campbell. Probably not as much production as I thought we're going to see from him. Yeah, not as much production as I thought we're going to see from him in those first 2 games. I think he had a collective of 6 points and 8 assists across the first 2 games. So I'm sure that play will pick up as the season goes along as well. But Joe, let's jump into some key moments and matchups heading into to round 2 as well. And this is an interesting one because the title that I've kind of gone with and the storyline that I'm going with heading into round number 2 is the first part is who bounces back. And then the second part of it is who is the most impressive of the 3 teams that we haven't seen. So the Adelaide 36ers, the Sydney Kings, and the Illawarra Hawks. So I'm going to start with the bouncers back. And I guess when you look at this, it's probably not the most disappointing loss. The Perth Wildcats has lost to the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. It was only 3 points. Both teams looked like they weren't trying to win that game in particular. They were more just trying to lose that game. No one wanted to score. Their 3-point percentages were absolutely horrible and everything as well. When you look across the board, all the statistics are separated by 1 or 2 all the way down as well. So it was a very close matchup. And again, Tasmania are looking like a good team this season. So all things are forgiven slightly for the Perth Wildcats. But I think they're the team that's going to bounce back the biggest in round number 2. And they've probably got the easiest matchup to do that as well. The only tough thing for me, though, is they're going to have to do the hardest travel job in the whole of the NBL, from Perth all the way over to New Zealand. So that will be some sort of an effect, I think, for the Perth Wildcats. They may start a little bit slow, but I think once they get going, there's just going to be this hunger and I guess sort of this, just urgency to make sure they win game number 2 of their season, to get them in the winner's circle and to continue and hopefully build on that going forward as well. So they're the team that will have to bounce back. Now, on the other end of that, though, you've spoken about it and we've spoken about it. The New Zealand Breakers, they just have to win this game, though. They cannot go 0-3 and also lose 2 home games in that stretch as well. That is just disappointing signs. The Breakers fans are eating and are so hungry for success this season as well after what the team has built and put together and, back to black and, the New Zealand born recruits, they've all born back. Everyone is excited. There's a really genuine buzz around New Zealand. So they are hungry for success. So what do you think of those, mate? Who do you think bounces back? You've also got another team who you are thinking going to bounce back in round number 2. So who are they and why?
Yeah, so I think you made really really good points there. It's a duality of the results. So Perth lose, the fans rip the seats out of the stadium because going 0-2 against a team that is 0-2 currently, not good. They should win, and I reckon they should win by 15 plus. But then if you got New Zealand, they defeat Perth. Everyone's like, well, hold on, they're actually doing all right. Rob Baker's starting to form. Our opinion is based on the results of what we know. So it's going to be interesting. So it's either team, something's going to happen, and we're going to be talking about it in a week's time. in a negative manner just because based on the results. But my team going to this round now with Andrew Andrews. I know Andrew Andrews is flying in currently. I think Cairns Taipans, first game at home at the Cairns Convention Centre, are going to bounce back and beat Brisbane Bullets this round. Um,
Massive.
I cannot see them playing that bad again. It'll be really really poor on Adam Ford if he allowed that. I think it will be a close game, flip a coin, but yeah, I just think if Andrew Andrews can suit up, I think he'll be add an extra ball handling, and he's a good scorer. This guy could average 16 to 18 points a game in this league. Yeah, he had a bit of a scoring punch, and I just think they're going to get the first win of the season at home for the fans, and dispel any of that like a Cairns going to finish bottom, which I personally think they will. But I'm going to give them their first win of the season, and it's going to be this weekend.
Yeah, massive. I think one player of interest who I'm looking forward to, I don't think he had the worst game statistically, but he just wasn't, I guess, maybe what we'd expect just in terms of taking over a game. That's Jack McVeigh, but he had the hardest task last week of having John Brown
Yeah, he only had
on
13
him.
shots as well.
Yeah, and John Brown just wearing him like a glove last week as well. So he'll look to bounce back. I thought Rain, massive shout out to Rain, was very, very impressive in that game as well. Showed some very good signs, just continuing on from the Asia Cup and everything that he's been building this offseason as well. Marcus Lee was relatively good as well. So they got enough serviceable pieces there in Cairns. Now, the second part of sort of my look ahead and the key moments heading into round number 2 is which of these 3 teams we haven't seen goes bang. And for me, I think it's going to be the Adelaide 36ers. Now, pressure is essentially on them right now without Montrezl Harrell and all the storylines and the sort of, I guess, growing frustration that fan base may have, obviously, with losing one of these star and premier players in the NBL. But they showed some really, really good signs in those EuroLeague games. And I was genuinely, so happy to see Bryce score 28 points and have 9 assists. Dejan Vasiljevic was really, really good. Isaac Humphries was very strong inside as well. They have a very good core of this team, and their bench players just stand up. Isaac White stands up. Michael Harris finally getting opportunities, was standing up. Flynn Cameron, really solid piece of the puzzle. They've just got enough there. So I think they're going to be the team. Obviously, we all know they're going to be up there when it comes to the end of the season, but they're going to be the team in round number 1 who just comes into this round, absolutely annihilates their opponent, and we are looking and talking about them next week going, okay, yep, they're a genuine chance to win this all, and they've still got potentially 2 import slots to fill. Let's just start putting whatever we can on the Adelaide 36ers to win this. But out of those 3 teams, who do you think is going to make the most amount of noise heading into round number 2?
Well, I think it's going to be like, considering they're they all might pick to win the league prior to Kali Pepe going out. I think Sydney are going to come in and absolutely destroy Cairns. Like, I know I said Cairns is going to win the game against Brisbane, but then they have to fly over to Sydney and play at Kudos Bank Arena against the Sydney side that is, yes, there's no Lepepe, but he's not the biggest needle mover in terms of like championship and stuff. It does suck for them, but they still got really good players, and I really think Xavier Cooks is going to absolutely annihilate Taipans. Kendrick Davis as well. I don't know who is going to guard Kendrick on that team. It's going to be quite concerning. He actually might drop like 30 plus points in his Sydney debut. I think they're going to come out with a bang, and look, they got Hunter Goodrick as a little backup. I know they're looking at an import, but I don't think they're in a rush. They're going to do similar to what Adelaide were doing. Play the game, see where the real gap is that they need to fill. They still got a good bench unit. Like, you got Jalen Galloway, who's going to be not starting for Bull Qual, not confirmed yet. But like, the fact that they have that option and that debate is really good. And yeah, I think they're just going to come out firing, and because I think people have forgotten about it. I haven't seen much people talking about them anywhere. So probably because they're a bit drama free at the moment. But yeah, I think they're going to come out and just destroy Cairns. It's like, yeah, not good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have stopped talking about them, but I think it's kind of been more about, obviously, I think people have tempered on them a little bit, going from like, yeah, these are the title favourites to now. I know we both had them, I think, as 5th when we did our ladder predictions heading into the offseason, like from the offseason heading into the first round. So I think people have gone from, okay, if this team finishes first, well, they should. But if they finish below that, well, then it's a failed season. And I think that's why there's not as much talk about them as well. So, yeah, I think they're going to have a massive game against the Cairns Taipans. And you speak about Kendrick Davis. Well, if you can't stop him, you're going to have to try to stop Matthew Dellavedova as well. And that is probably one of the hardest tasks in basketball as well. The 2000 or the NBL 25 finals MVP in a losing series as well. So he's an absolute genuine gun. Now, Jai, you put out a post or a tweet, I should say, on X as well, asking for a few fan questions. So I'm going to ask you a couple of these, and then I'll have a few answers to some of these as well, where if I see fit. But Jinxie is the first question from round number 1. And he said, how much do you boys take out of the EuroLeague exhibition game? So, Jai, floor is yours, mate.
Nothing. Marketing, marketing, promos, that's all I take out of it. I do not. These teams come down, these European players get a bit of a holiday, get to bring their family over. Good to get a run around and stuff, but like, I would not take much out of it at all. It's fun to watch. It's really cool to compare, but it's more of just like, a what if scenario. And like,
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. I like it, but no, I wouldn't take anything out of these.
I'm gonna take two things out of it quickly. I'm gonna take away that Jalen Galloway is going to be a very solid player this season. I think he was like 5 of 7 or 5 of 8 from the 3-point line. Don't quote me on that. And I'm also going to take away that Bryce Cotton and Dejan Vasiljevic will work together in the NBL. I had some serious doubts and concerns about those two as a combination or as a duo. I think they're going to work really, really nicely for the Adelaide 36ers. So I'll take that away. But anything else, I just think, yeah, you're bang on. It's an exhibition game. If we're looking at taking, who's the better league, the EuroLeague or the NBL, it's just all, fairy tale sort of talk as well. So again,
I consider it on the same mark of Blitz.
Yep.
Remind me who won the Blitz?
New Zealand Breakers 0-2.
There you go.
Yep. 100%. Now, very good way to end it and wrap up that question. But Jinxie, thank you very much for your question. Now, the second question here as well is from Zach Pearson. Now, he says, any news on the Sydney Kings getting a potential backup big for Tim Suarez? Looks like a big issue when he isn't on the floor and with Kelly Lepepe out. So quickly, though, before I throw over to you to maybe talk about, what could be happening for the Sydney Kings, obviously they've signed Hunter Goodrick. So I don't know if this question knows if Hunter Goodrick has been signed, and he was relatively solid. He's not the biggest body. I think he's 6'9". So, he's following the Kelly Lepepe build, but obviously Kelly is just an absolute monster. But yeah, I guess more of the question here is, do you think Sydney are looking at a few imports as that backup big position? And, what sort of player do they need? So that's probably more the question there, Jai.
Yeah, so I think Zach Pearson asked a really good question. So Tim Suarez is a really good player. I don't think he's the right player to be the center spot all season. They need another big, especially if he goes down injured, they're royally effed. So they need a backup, a 4 or 5, depending because Xavier Cooks will play a small ball 5 when Suarez is off, which is fine. I'm totally fine with that. But they need a starter or a backup 5 for Suarez who's good enough to be part of that rotation, similar to how we're talking about the Adelaide with Cheatham, Trez, and Humphreys. They need that style of rotation. Hunter Goodrick is a good NBL 1 player. I don't think he's going to move the needle too much in the NBL. He's a left-handed shooter, pretty good, not bad from the 3-point line, but he's more of a hustler. He'll get a lot of offensive rebounds and stuff. Big dude, fit, but he's not gonna do a lot. Like if you're talking to Illawarra Hawks, they sounds like Sydney brought him in to assassinate JaVale McGee, but I think that's just all bullshit. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, good question. It'll be interesting. So I don't know anyone at the moment, but all I know is that they're going to wait a few games to see what gap they need to fill.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting watch there for the Sydney Kings. Now, the third question we've got here is from Hawks and Precedent fans. Now, interesting name there. I don't mind it at all. I've seen him a lot on X. He's very, very good. He's got some good stuff on there as well. But his question is Ja'Cory McLaughlin on the firing line? And also, any news on the SEM replacement import and also the Adelaide import debacle? So we'll go quickly, one by one here. So you first, Jai.
Shot of questions.
It is a shot of questions. He's getting the 3-for-1 combination here as well. But Ja'Cory McLaughlin, is he in the firing line heading into the NBL season?
Yep, he should be gone. I don't want him in the league. No disrespect to players and stuff. I just do not think he's up to standard.
How many rounds do you think he lasts? I don't think he lasts past round 5. That's the way I look at it. I think they'll give him. They'll give him a red hot crack though.
I think if he plays this round and he goes absolutely shite, fans will start asking the questions and then go, "What's going on?" Especially with Will Hickey out, so he's probably going to start and play 30 plus minutes. we have to assume. If he does really bad, it's not good.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Any news on the Southeast Melbourne replacement import? Now, you spoke about it earlier on in the episode that, Southeast Melbourne now have got one game against Melbourne United on Thursday night in the throwdown.
Mm.
And then I think it's 12 days off after that. We were speaking about off air as well. So the reports are that they're going to be looking for an import during that break between the NBA game, NBL games, it does sound like.
Yeah, so obviously, they've got a break coming out because they're playing against the Pelicans next weekend. But it's Josh King has said that they'll play this game and they have a 2-week break, and during that break they're gonna scan Europe, scan America, and see who's out there, who wants to play. So we'll see who they bring in. I hope they go for a small forward type scorer. So that would be awesome because I think they can spread the ball handling across Glover and Foxwell and that. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, I don't know who they're gonna get.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting watch for sure there as well. And he's just said Adelaide import debacle. So I guess that's obviously more about Montrez. We've spoken about that enough in this episode. I don't think we really need to go over that too much as well. But they're going to have some time to figure out what they need. And I think it's a very smart move as well because they've already got a very solid starting lineup and also depth for them as well. So it's going to be an interesting watch for the other 36ers. But again, thank you very much for all your questions. We'll be doing this weekly as well. So we'll
send them
pick
through.
a couple of the best. Yeah, 100%. We'll take a couple of the best questions every single week and give you guys a shout out, and looking forward to seeing where that takes us throughout the rest of the season, Jai. But we're going to wrap up the episode with our NBL tips. Now, last week we had Rain Smith on. He went 3 of 5. I went 3 of 5, and you went 3 of 5. So we're all even Stevens heading into round number 2. So this week we've got a couple of the same tips. We've got a couple of different tips as well. So first game of the round, all three of us have gone with Melbourne United to beat the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. In the second game of the round, Bawali and yourself have picked the Cairns Taipans. I have picked the Brisbane Bullets in that particular game. So that could be the one where I either get a point or the players and yourself get a point there, Jai. We've all picked the Perth Wildcats to beat the New Zealand Breakers in that game over there in New Zealand. Now, again, this is where we potentially have a chance to point up on the players here. So we've both picked the Tasmania Jack Jumpers, and Bawali, true to himself and obviously the club he's playing for, has picked the Illawarra Hawks as well. And then the last 2 games of the round, we have both all picked the Sydney Kings and the Adelaide 36ers. So there's a couple of chances here for me to go. The way I look at it, if we do pretty well here, you could walk away with being one up on all of us, and I could also be one up on the players heading into round number 3. So this is going to be very, very interesting. But that will wrap up today's episode of the NBL Show. Been an absolutely incredible episode. We're trying to find the groove now. Obviously, sorry again for the episode coming out later than we would like it. We want these episodes to be coming out Monday, 5 p.m. Melbourne time or Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So again, these will be coming out in the future. Once again, though, thank you very much to everyone who supported us. And make sure you go over to foxsport.com.au as well. Check out all the incredible articles that Jai, myself, and the team are producing over there as well. We've got exclusive content coming up with players. We've got NBL power rankings. We've got top 25s. We've got top 10s. We've got everything you need heading into the NBL season and throughout over there at foxsport.com.au. But until next time, Jai, you had a good episode, mate?
Yeah, very good episode. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Obviously, what Josh just said, have a crack at looking at our content and stuff. We're working hard over here. We're very new to this. And we're going to be attending some games this season, obviously. We'll try and get out to as many games as possible. So Josh over in Perth will be attending more Perth games than me, obviously.
Yep.
I'll let people know on Twitter if I'm attending a game. Come say hi. I'd love to meet you all. And vice versa with Josh. I'm sure he'd love to meet everyone there as well. So, don't be strangers. Give me a shout out and we'll get a beer or two.
Definitely, mate. That's what this podcast is about, and that's what Jai and I are about as well. We want to really be involved in the community and obviously make everyone really feel a part of this as well. This is, again, like we said in the first episode, we wouldn't be where we are right now without the support of everyone as well in the NBL community. Even close. So, no, that's it, mate. But that'll wrap up episode 2. Thank you very much for watching another episode of the NBL Show presented by Fox Sport, and we'll see you next week.